What's poppin', y'all? Imagine being at the top of the game in not only sports, both collegiately and professionally, and then moving on to become a top dog in the media game later on in your life, to be called a bozo by a one-hit wonder that became washed up and is cockier than when he had that one hit. And that's exactly what happened between Shannon Sharpe and Jim Jones. So it all started initially with Jim Jones on Shannon Sharpe, and he had made these ridiculous comments about Nas prior to the Shannon Sharpe interview. So I'm going to play you guys the initial clip where he made those comments about Nas.
The more I bless people, the more I get blessed. And it's just a testament of hard work and being resilient and being real with yourself. You know what I mean?
Can I ask you a question, Jim?
Mm-hmm.
You smoke, right?
Yeah.
Were you smoking when you said you better than Nas?
I might have been a little bit. Well, as far as let's get this right. I'm way more influential than Nas, and I don't care what nobody say. I know I made a little boo-boo when we talk about the sales and all this type of shit. I feel like getting into that rhetoric about where I started and where he started.
Well, you said that
but
bullshit.
Listen, Nas was nice when I was in high school. When I was in 10th grade, Nas came out. Nas was dope. We appreciated him. He had a little bit run. But Nas always came up second to Jay and DMX and all these other people. Like,
Ain't no shame in that. There a lot of folks came up second to Tom Brady.
He never had that type of influence on us, except for his first album. I already told you, I used to want to dress like Nas because he had a lot of fresh clothes that the hustlers used to wear and shit. I used to see him on TV. He had one of the illest albums of all time. And then in high school when he had the barbecue and shit like that. So I'm a real fan of Nas, but he kind of lost me after the movie Belly and shit like that. Like, I don't.
Man, go ahead on with that, Jim.
I'm trying to tell you, I'm being honest. You ask me, I'm being a fan. I'm telling you, the movie Belly was fire, but after that, he kind of lost me. I think we was way too much into the game. Remember how this goes. You ever heard of a Kufi list?
Yeah.
Yo, go back into your history and find out what happened between us and him. You dig? And I'm not trying to repeat history, but don't play with us when it comes to that, bro. We already went wild on them boys. You heard? We the ones that went wild on them boys. You heard?
Hey, Jim.
Yo, and people out here acting like I said I'm gonna bring the Kufi list back. I just told you I'm gonna change man. Stephen Law. Key, you dig?
Nah, look, I'm put it to you like this, Jim. Hey, bro, you been at this thing, but lyrically, I'm gonna keep it a step.
So Shannon Sharpe presses him on this, and they get into a little back and forth. I'm gonna run you guys that clip now.
Look how you dress. Look how you dress. You don't even be in the same places I be in. And the things that we listen to,
I can be in the church house. You can't F with Nas lyrics. I don't know who told you that. Now look, I know you on that good stuff, but you're not seeing Nas. You're not seeing Nas, bro. Let's be real.
You got a bunch of 40 and 50-year-olds in their panties because I said I'm better than Nas.
It don't matter.
Look at you. Look at you.
Ain't nobody from Dipset gonna take you over Nas. Nobody from the Diplomats but you.
I got Hold on, Jim. Hold on.
That shirt too
Hold
tight.
on.
That shirt
Jimmy.
too tight. You want to go back to I Really Mean It? I Really Mean It started. We could go back to the history, bro.
But you didn't even say that,
bro. Don't do that, bro. That shirt to be sticking up for Nas.
I got a question.
Let Nas stick up for itself and meet me in a booth for something if we want to do something historical.
Nas say he don't do that no more. Nas say he don't do that
because he got $100 million. He's a very wealthy man. You heard he's a very smart businessman. He called a couple business clicks.
And then Jim Jones is doing a press tour on this, and he goes and calls Shannon Sharpe a bozo to a level of disrespect. I was like, what the hell? So I'm gonna play that clip right now.
Why you feel like people always trying to throw shots, though?
I mean, that's what they do. That's the media. You heard? And I encourage it because if they don't throw shots, then I don't get to throw shots back and show them who I really am. That shit don't mean nothing to me. I'm a master of sticks and stones.
You and Shannon Sharpe was going at it.
Man, Shannon's a bozo, man. You heard? Country man is a bozo, man. NFL was the best thing that happened for you in your life, bro, because you was a bozo.
I think that would be dope, the little workout competition.
He don't want to get in the gym. He too old. Crickets. You heard?
Yo, Jimmy.
I break that 30 minutes.
This irritated me. There are a few things that I wouldn't say it gets me emotional, but there are a few things that make me do a stank face, and not the good type of stank face where you're like, damn, that song hitting. No. When was the last time someone said that about Jim Jones? It's more so like, what did he just say? And he called Shannon Sharpe a bozo and said the NFL is the best thing that ever happened in his life. This type of person, you just have to stay away from. You don't want this person as your friend. You don't want this person as your enemy, honestly. You shouldn't really care. But you wouldn't want Jim Jones as your enemy either, to be honest. The guy's, I wouldn't call him a crash out, but he's just not a good enemy to have. But you don't want this person as your friend because they will take an insane accomplishment and try to diminish it like, man, NFL best thing that ever happened to you. What? Number one, let's just taking a look at Shannon Sharpe's genetics. Pause on that. No Diddy, no cousin, no Ye. The guy's a beast. But to be durable enough, this is why like I have such high respect for professional sports and people that almost made it. I have a high level of respect for people that almost made it. Any overseas professional basketball players, people that were killers in college, but they're just not good enough to make it to the big league, like the NBA or something like that. And maybe we've got like overseas players that watch this, like shout out to y'all, because some of this stuff is luck, man. And it's not luck in terms of, oh, they're just lucky with how skilled they are. It's luck, and this is not what Jim Jones is talking about, but it's luck in the sense that you were durable enough to not get injured. How many people, like for example, Derrick Rose, the trajectory of Derrick Rose, if he had never gotten that ACL injury, he was insane before that. And that injury changed him forever. Now, thank God that he was able to recover and still be good enough to play in the NBA. But there are people that didn't even make it into the NBA because they got injured. And we're not talking about the uncle down the block who's at the barbershop talking about like, yo, I was state champ in 1998, but I tore my rotator cuff and I was never able to recover. That's why I didn't make the league. No, we're talking about like people that were actually going to make it. So there is a durability aspect. And even in the professional level, like you get people like Anthony Davis who consistently get hurt and it's hard to manage that. So that's the luck aspect. But when we're talking about Shannon Sharpe, that guy was playing a brutal sport, which is in the NFL. And it's not like, oh yeah, the NFL happened to you. No, you practiced throughout your entire life, dedicated it to a sport, and made it to the NFL. Not only did he make it to the NFL, the guy's isn't he a multi-time Super Bowl champion? I know he won at least once, which is crazy already to have one Super Bowl. But you won the Super Bowl multiple times. Yeah, that just happened to you. That's like saying, them Grammys, them 20 Grammys you won, that's the best thing that ever happened to you. It's as if he's trying to diminish such a grand accomplishment. Like, what better can you do than what Shannon Sharpe did? Like, obviously there's Tom Brady, but I'm talking about what more could you achieve in the most competitive league? Like, he made it past high school varsity, he made it into college, he made it into NFL, he made it to NFL playoffs. Is that what they call it? Do they call it the playoffs in the NFL? I don't know. He made it to the Super Bowl, and then he won the Super Bowl more than once. That's where you just got to look at Jim Jones like, you are a hater. And a hater is somebody like you can't even acknowledge the person's accomplishments if you don't like him anymore. And this is the thing. If Jim Jones was cool with Shannon Sharpe, he'd be like, Shannon, that dude won the won the Super Bowl multiple times. You think that's your man's? He'd probably play him up. But now that he's not cool with him, he's like, man, best thing ever happened to you. You a bozo. What? And then after the NFL, he reinvents himself, grinds it out, becomes basically the number one guy. That podcast that he did with Cat Williams was explosive. It was the number one podcast of the year, and he's still got a huge show, got the midnight, I think it was like midnight show or a cap, whatever it is. So he's got some of the biggest shows in sports and entertainment. He got to the top of that field. So are you going to say that happened to him as well? Meanwhile, what have you done? That's the thing, man. And this is the thing. He didn't even disrespect Jim Jones. He just said like, hey man, that was crazy what you said. God. Anyway, Jim Jones went on to make a statement about this whole situation with Nas, and you will see why he thinks like this and why you need to stay away from people like Jim Jones. So he posts on his story, and this is him posting in verbatim. If you 40 and up arguing with me about Nas, y'all already lost. Y'all fell for the bait. B-A-T-E. This guy's ghostwriter must be Fabio Foreign. My streams go up every time I got viral. I'm teaching you older artists a lesson in marketing. Y'all so stuck in yesterday. Y'all mad at the way things run today. Tighten up, LOL. What lesson are you teaching please. I'm opening up Spotify right now. This is why you can't be friends with somebody like Jim Jones, because even if you're friends with him, you're going to hear him say wild stuff and he's going to expect you to co-sign it. And you're looking at him like, dog, that's crazy. You're completely wrong about that. He's got 861,000 monthly listeners. And We Fly High is one of them. Like, come on. We Fly High is like the top two. This hasn't gone up since I made the last video. At the Church Steps. That's the album that he dropped this year. There isn't a single song with 1 million streams on it. The highest one has 667,000. This ish still Harlem. This guy's still talking about Harlem when he's in his 50s. I know he's not 50, but like, come on, man. Lesson in marketing? You've had a head start of 15 years. And there have been artists like, man, isn't Nine Vicious ahead of this guy? What's Nine Vicious doing? This guy got 861,000. No, Nine Vicious got 251,000. Well, excuse me. Don't mind me, OG. What about Osama Son? Osama Son got to be higher than this guy. Dog, Osama Son got 1 million monthly listeners. This guy's like, what, 19? He's lapped you. You've been in this. He was in diapers, probably playing with his first iPad. Was the iPad even out when he was, I don't know how old Osama Son is, but I'm pretty sure he's quite young. But this guy was a young buck. You had 15 years. Well, marketing. You still got the same songs from the mid-2000s on the top of your Spotify. And that's the thing. Like, this guy's cocky for nothing and nothing to show for it. But this is the thing. Like, there are people that are cocky, but there's humility in the way that they conduct themselves. For instance, Floyd Mayweather, very, very cocky. One of the cockiest boxers ever. But you see that guy is training. He's not drinking. He's going to the club all night, not drinking, not doing any drugs, and then running back down the Vegas Strip and training like a maniac throughout his entire career. That, yeah, he's cocky, but his behavior shows otherwise, and his performance also shows that there's humility there. Like, the guy's a defensive fighter. He's never doing anything too high risk either. So you got to give him respect there. But with Jim Jones, it's like, yeah, you can be this cocky, but where are your hits? It's like, Ye can talk crazy because he's got hits, he's got classics. Even Jay can talk crazy. Jim Jones, how are you talking like this? You're not even a good marketer. Your music's not even lit. Like, come on. So while on this other podcast, Jim Jones continues and he gets asked about the situation with Nas. And I'm going to play you guys that clip right now because this is egregious.
So, yo, man, there's been a lot of controversy lately with you, man. You've been going viral, man.
AKA the marketing genius.
As we supposed to.
No doubt.
I seen a lot of things take a spike. All equals $1. That's what we trying to make out here.
You made a comparison with you and Nas, man. Everybody was talking about it. Now, why out of everybody you picked Nas, bro?
I didn't do it.
They asked him. They asked him a question, didn't they?
I didn't do it.
What happened was these dudes out of Atlanta, Direct and Rain, they had spoken about Jimmy and Nas's name. And then that spiraled into Joe and Jada, and it took a whole life of its own, man.
But I said, although he asked him the question, it's like people don't know that the question was answered and this was brewing up on the net before it was even spoke about.
When I listened to what Jimmy said, all the points he's given based on the fashion, based on how the mixtapes ran, based on the influence. If we take Nas, aside from lyricism, what else does he influence?
He sold a lot of records.
Okay, yeah. So selling records is influential in what?
In a whole lot of shit.
I just don't think you can compare
It's two different things.
the golden era when hip-hop was just getting brewing. Like, when hip-hop was just getting brewing, that's when Biggie, Nas, and Jay was, like, really, like...
And they also were spending millions of dollars on marketing money that even if an artist went platinum, he still didn't recoup.
So here you have Jim Jones. This is what I'm saying. You can't be friends with Jim Jones because you got this yes man right next to him who's his homie, and I think he's just trying to be solid. It's not that he's glazing the dude. He doesn't know that he is, but he's talking about, like, yeah, you know, if we talk about the fashion, no, we're not talking about the fashion. Number one, what fashion? This is the thing, too. Jim Jones has had 20 years. What fashion brand has Jim Jones put out? Like Ian Connor, for example, he came out in the 2010s. He's got a Sicko thing going on right now. Like, nah, it's not the biggest thing in the world. Is Sicko, like, for y'all that know, is Sicko even bigger than Midnight Studios by Shane Novelli? I don't know if that's still a thing as well, but I remember Midnight Studios was huge in like the mid 2015, 2016 era, and Ian really helped put that dude on, Shane Novelli. But before Sicko, Ian Connor had Revenge X Storms, those like Thunderbolt Vans type shoes, and those went crazy. Like, those were, it went so crazy that he got a cease and desist, or he got sued, I think, by Vans to take that stuff down. You know, you're making disgusting bread when they do that, because, and I think he made $500,000 in like an evening, in a couple of hours when he first did the drop for those. So that's an example of somebody that was known for fashion, style, taste, curation, and he put something out and he made bread off of it, and that's what he's doing right now. Jim Jones, what does he have? That's what I'm saying. And if he had something, he wouldn't be talking like this. So they're talking about, like, oh, nah, Jim Jones, you know, when we talk about the fashion, and we didn't talk about the fashion too. That's the thing. So even in the conversation that they're trying to steer to, where they're trying to move the goalposts, we still don't got a goal. He's still hitting it into the rafters, into the seats, into the bleachers, where Taylor Swift is sitting out. So then he talks about like, yeah, back then, these artists, they had all that millions of dollars of marketing and they couldn't do that recouping. We don't want to hear that, Jim Jones. You were talking about, he said this, I'm bigger than Nas. You check the billboards. So you put yourself in the competition. Don't talk about, oh, nah, they wasn't recouping. Now we're talking about contracts. You don't know what their paperwork is. You don't know what profit or loss they got. You don't know any of that. Not personally for each one. And this is Nas we're speaking of. Nas definitely recouped. Nas definitely made a bag. And then he starts bringing other rappers into it. Now we're talking about you and Nas. That's all we're talking about. Not anybody else. He keeps trying to shift this over. And you would think it gets better or more sensible. No, it doesn't. Because in this next clip that I'm going to play you guys, oh man. Let's just roll it.
What I did for the music market in New York was add something new, and that was doing your own independent records. Signed to an independent label in the beginning. I'm still an independent artist right now.
You know what I'm saying?
But do you think this way because you was a part of the Dipset and because you was a part of a group and maybe Nas just been solo, people take credit from being inside a group and not being solo from the beginning?
Nah, I don't think it got nothing to do with that. Like, whatever happened and when we did before, that was just us being combative and people just trying, but now it's just like I'm where I'm at. I'm at the apex of what I do, you heard? So I'm talking about currently, you heard? Currently, nobody from my era really want to get busy or go and get into the booth with me right now, currently. This is a fact, Jack, you heard? If not, they would have stood up a long time ago and holler at me, you dig? But this is where I'm at with it. My competitive nature brings me here. And then if we go back for the last few years, and the albums and the music that I've been dropping has been phenomenal. And if you want to put that up against anybody's albums that they dropped from my era, I think that they get in that, you heard?
So now he's trying to pat himself on the back for saying like, oh, nah, he was independent back then. First off, he may have had a distribution deal, I don't really know, but We Fly High was Koch Records. And the reason why there are two things. Either he chose to be independent and get distribution because he had the fame of Dipset that was huge and already signed, like the Cameron and Joel Santana. So he was able to just ride their coattails and be like, oh shoot, I could ride off and be independent myself, and I have the hype of these guys, and I don't have to sign. Or were you independent because nobody wanted to sign you, or you got dropped by your record label? Because it was quickly after We Fly High, nobody was listening to Jim Jones. So maybe he had offers then, and then the offers just stopped. They're like, not really worried about it. Because a lot of people were independent during that era or got dropped during that era. For example, late 2000s, Hobson I think he got dropped from Ruthless Records, was it? It was some record label that Hobson got dropped from. And he was forced to become independent. And it worked great for him. He was one of the pioneers of being independent, really, on the internet. And then you had Crooked Eye. Crooked Eye was one of the pioneers of being independent too. So Jim Jones can't even talk about this independent stuff. Crooked Eye was ahead of so many of these other guys, also known as King Crooked with the X, KX, and G now. I don't know if he went back to the old one. But also, who's another example? There are many names that they got dropped and they had to become independent. So he's trying to flex that he was independent because that's cool now. It's a trendy thing now. But were you independent out of necessity, as in nobody else wanted you? Or were you independent because you had the aid of Dipset and the brand and the marketing that came with that from their major record labels? Which one is it? And then he's talking about dropping music now compared to from his era because they don't want to rap. Dog, nobody's talking about Jim Jones's music right now. Nobody. It's not in the conversation. Maybe some old heads are like, yeah, he's still dropping and they're messing with it. But if you're talking about your age group, yeah, let's talk about Griselda. You're not touching them in numbers or anything else, in rapping, in anything. So even the demo that you've got as a fan base, they were put Griselda over you, let alone Nas. And then a lot of those other artists that you're talking about from back in the day, now this is about Nas, who is still dropping music, that's still washing Jim Jones on Billboard, as well as washing him in quality too. He is talking about they're scared to drop, or they're not really dropping. Yeah, like why would let's just say Cameron and Mace, or just Cameron, who was right next to him. Why would Cameron be dropping music when they're making like what, 20 M's a year off of a show? They evolved, Jim Jones. They're not still rapping. They don't want to rap anymore. Maybe they enjoy making music still and they make it for themselves. I don't know. But they just thought, hey, we're better at this thing, and this is something that we can do until the day we die. Like look at, I was gonna say Shannon Sharpe. Look at the guy that was co-host with Shannon Sharpe on, what was it, Undisputed? Skip Bayless. Isn't that guy like almost 80 and he's still doing this? So they're looking towards the future. Jim Jones, are you gonna be 70 and rapping? I think it's a good thing that we moved like rapping further along to where it's like, oh, 40s, like people in their 40s rapping isn't seen as that crazy now. Even in their 50s rapping isn't seen as that crazy now. Now, if you're just starting, that's a bit of a different story. But we're seeing rappers sustain careers. But Jim Jones has never evolved. He's still doing the exact same thing he did 20 years ago, and it's significantly less successful. So I'm going to play you guys this next clip.
I hearing you when you say that. It's like they're skipping over
Because you know,
that you're saying.
I be sometimes I just I'm just gonna go. You did? Y'all gonna give me the lane. I'm gonna slam dunk, and I'll be at the top of your Explorer page for the next week. You heard? Don't give me that opportunity. But when I do have the platform, I could break everything down. I think everybody can break it down. Also, what y'all stuck on is sales. Cool. You heard? There's a lot of people that sold more records than me that are also not around anymore. Been gone. Diamond, 5-time platinum, 4-time platinum, gold artist. I've seen it since 1997. Gone. I'm still here. From whatever you painted the picture to be, to me to being a hype man, or he wasn't the best rapper, or he just started to get whatever you want to narrative you want to paint. You still got to listen to me talking to you right now in 2025. What I did for Nas probably never been done for him in his life. He's never been that viral at all, ever. Ever. He's never been talked about like this ever in his life.
Now, has Nas reached out to you?
You did. The last time he was in some shit like this where people were comparing is when him and Jay was beating on him.
Say that.
You heard?
And then they're like, yo, they not hearing you when you say that. Yes, we are not hearing Jim. When he's talking about, and he's saying Nas has never been this viral in his life. Is he insane? And this is the problem with Jim Jones, and this is why he hasn't evolved. He thinks any attention is good attention, which is true to a degree, but this is where the attention would be good. If Jim Jones, and this is where Jim Jones has no idea what he's doing. If Jim Jones had a podcast where he talked like this, like for example, Fat Joe and Jadakiss, right? They just got a podcast. Fat Joe is talking. Fat Joe's hilarious. I wouldn't say he's a similar personality to Jim Jones, but he's not as egregious with his statements. Like he would never say something like, yo, I'm better than Nas, put my numbers up next to Nas. But Fat Joe has crazy stories and he's doing a podcast now. And in that podcast, we already saw him go back and forth with Joe Budden about the seats. He's like, yo, I couldn't be caught dead with my enemy behind me when he's talking about 50 Cent and Joe Budden in that situation. So that went up. Joe Budden addresses that. I talked about that. Other people talked about that. There's also the story with Justin Bieber. Not Jim Jones. Fat Joe gets talked about more because of that. And then I think there's something recent that happened. Oh no, where he had Nas on there, I think. So there are 3 separate instances, and Fat Joe got a lot of press for this, but this all contributes to Fat Joe's podcast with Jadakiss, where people are going there to hear him speak. Do you think Fat Joe's music got an uptick in streams because of any of these past 3, I wouldn't call them controversies, but big stories that surrounded his name? Hell nah, man. Maybe like a couple of listens here and there, but not anything to move the needle. Maybe a total of $150 where he could probably buy like bodega sandwiches for the next week or so because of how expensive those things got, but that's contributing to him. So if Jim Jones can talk crazy, talk all this ish, yeah, if he had a podcast, it would make sense. Or if he had a YouTube channel where he was just talking his talk. But if he's just trying to sell the music, no, this is not working for you. And Nas, and this is how you know everyone's clowning, what's his name? Jim Jones, is because Nas having dinner with the founder of Cult, and this is I think it's a liquor brand. I ain't no professional with the liquor, but it's people that got bread. And you've got people quoting this, and 20K likes and more. Jim Jones still at the bodega getting a chopped cheese. This is crazy. Imagine you're at dinner with these guys, and then Jim Jones is talking about, yeah, he's most lit he's ever been. He's still thinking like a teenager. Like, oh, nah, I'm lit. They're talking about me. And this is the frustrating part about guys like Jim Jones, man. And you don't want to game somebody like this up, and you don't want to help them out, because if they're already cocky, losing on every front and trying to compare themselves to people and downing their accomplishments, you don't want to see them succeed because you helped them out. They probably won't even give you credit. They'll be like, yeah, nah, man, I knew I should have done something like that. Yeah, he just pointed me in the right direction, but he ain't really do much else. So this is somebody that's not even going to give you credit if you help him out either. But entertaining, it is, for sure. Jim Jones is entertaining. He's more entertaining than Nas. I'll give him that any day of the week. But a clown can be entertaining. And I'm not saying that, like, 6ix9ine was entertaining. And I'm not saying that Jim Jones is a clown or a snitch. I just think this is genuinely his personality. He's just like this. And it's funny to watch. Sometimes it gets frustrating, but to be around it is the worst. Because your head will want to explode. You can't argue with somebody like this. Like, the guy's delusional. But let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see y'all on the next one.